Today we're going to talk about practice makes perfect. So, if you guys haven't noticed already, every Thursday is themed around work or study or uni. I might do some stuff about like writing an essay or law and stuff in the future, but today is about practice makes perfect. And so, if you're like me, um, growing up, I've always struggled to understand and why I was doing the work at school, and I was always struggling with finding the right reasons to do it. Because after a while, I'll get disillusioned with the work and just feel like, oh, there's nothing to it. You know, it's just doing math equations over and over again, or writing this essay about a topic that's kind of ridiculous and immature and childish. And I didn't really care about working at school that much. So if you guys didn't know anything about me, I actually dropped out of school in grade 10 because I was just so sick of everything. But I think going back into uni and confronting that part of myself that resented studying really brought back, it really made me think about why it is that I work. And so I came up with what I wrote here. So this is like a note I wrote to myself a couple months ago. In the first paragraph I said, behind every fidgety and flighty pair of hands is unbound potential, chained within the dullness of a cursed flesh. So what I mean by that is we work so that we can bring ourselves to, so we can rise to the greatness of the things we work on. It's something greater than ourselves. I would say this wouldn't really apply if you're just doing something for the sake of doing it, or if it's just the reasons you have in the back of your head are just about furthering your own self-interest. But I would say the reason I wrote that, is because I think us humans on the earth, we're meant to unleash our potential on the earth for a greater purpose, a purpose greater than ourselves. But obviously when we start doing the work, or as we do the work, we find it difficult sometimes to rise to that occasion and to actually do the work properly. And which is why school is important, our early years are important, so we can actually get to the point where we can stand on our work, be proud of our work, and have it actually serve something greater than ourselves. But it is true that we all start with a state of mind or a physical state that's probably less than ideal. And it takes quite a lot of effort to get to a point where we're able to actually excel at something. And that's what I meant here. That also went into the curse as well and everything else. But really, I think at the bottom line, what I really wanted to talk about today was like the reasons behind why we do anything, the reasons behind why we would practice a craft, say like playing the violin, or playing the piano, or writing, or drawing, or painting, or could be anything. Why is it that we do these things? I think there's an aspect of taming our souls as well, or taming our flesh, our body, to be in conformity to what our soul wishes to do. Because if you're like me, I have a lot of things in my head that I want to bring to fruition, but oftentimes it doesn't actually become anything real. It just stays as an idea. And I think the true purpose and the true meaning of a lot of crafts is, crafts, by crafts I mean things you do over and over again, like routines, practice routines, like playing scales on instruments and things like that. The purpose of that is to better our skills, better our flesh, so that our spirit can come forward in those things. And the reason I say that is because ultimately, at the end of the day, those things are about the expression of our spirit as human beings. Artists often talk about being yourself, expressing yourself, and doing all of that to bring out the best that you can do in your craft, right? And I think this has a lot to do with it because each of us has a unique spirit. Each of us has something to say about the world from our perspective, like what I'm doing here with this video. And in a sense, I'm still getting better as I'm doing this. And this to me is a craft, this getting in front of the camera and talking. But I hope to be in a place where years down the line, I'll be able to stand in front of maybe thousands of people and talk about the same things with the same kind of affluence. And I didn't start off like this, and I think I'm continuing to grow into this as well as I'm going. But at the end of the day, this is about expressing what is in my spirit. And practicing is really just informing our flesh, or making our flesh serve our spirit, which is ultimately, which I say that to myself as well because I really needed that when I was struggling with life, and I hope this can help you as well. Because when you're just doing a routine, it's sometimes very difficult to see why and how it plays into the bigger picture. And I found out that the reason why I was struggling to work and the reason why I was struggling to practice my craft was because, to me, and if you're raised in a normal schooling environment with ordinary parents, they're just going to tell you to do the thing. They're not actually going to tell you why. They're not actually going to have you think about what it is you're doing that you're doing. And I think it's very helpful for us to keep the big picture in mind when we do anything, and to see that ultimately the result is we want to end in a place where we can truly express what is in our spirit for the glory of God, which is ultimately what everything is about. But yeah, I'll see if I can read a few more things from that. The universal experience is the curse brought by Adam's sin, and it ensures that pain, sweat, and tears will ensue as the spirit strives against the flesh. And through all hardship, one tends to his spirit against the malaise of the flesh by this practice. For the flesh is weak, but the spirit is indeed willing. And then you must practice again, then again, and again, more times than you will be able to count, and then find that at one moment, long after you've stopped counting or accounting for it, you become one with your toil. The voice of your violin sings to you, the pen on your page dances, or at once the words which you speak come alive with passion like never before. Then and only then have you reached the foothills of human expression. All that came before was the path which has set you before the mountain that you've now faced, and only now by climbing this mountain will your spirit finally begin to soar.